Chanel wash mitt, microfiber rag just for the bottom half, the most dirtiest part. This one will not go on top of the vehicle. This rag will stay from the bottom half down. It won't go back into the bucket after the first dip. That way there's no dirt or scratches or anything to worry about going back into the clean bucket of water. This will go back into the bucket. I'll move it around on the grit guard, but this only has light dirt, and these fibers against that grit guard will keep that little bit of dirt that gets in here down, but the main heavy dirt will stay on this rag. I'll just use all 4 or 5 sides, whatever. Just move to a clean side of the rag each time for the bottom half and the plastics and everything. Now all I've done is pressure washed off the salt, degreased the tires and acid the wheels, no brushes or anything. Just pressure washed it all off, and then I blow dried it, then I poured it inside and I sprayed it down with Optimum no rinse to kind of prevent these water spots from actually spotting up. But since the wheels and tires are cleaned, I'm gonna go on and dress those down in the fender wells. That way I don't have to worry about any dressing overspray getting on the paint, because any bit that does get on the paint now from dressing the wheels and tires will be taken care of during the rinseless wash. Alright, so tires are dressed. What I'm going to do, I've got a spray bottle of basically the same dilution of ONR. I'll spray it down. I've got 3 rags, my drying rag, my wash mitt, and then my dirty rag for the bottom half, and that's all it's going to take. So I'm going to knock out the roof and then I'm going to get to the bottom portion. Alright, so the roof is done. All I'm going to do is just kind of spray it down as I go to put some ONR on the paint. When I spray it, it'll encapsulate the dirt that's on the paint into the water bead encapsulations. Then when I go through with the mitt, it lifts it up onto the wash mitt, and then that's how it doesn't scratch. Ideally, I need a pump sprayer with this, and that would save my hands a lot. But all I'm doing is just saturating the panel, even the plastics. And I'll stop at that rear door. So I've already dipped this dirty bottom rag into the bucket and wringed it out a little bit. My wash mitt's down in here. I'm gonna rub it up against the grit guard. It comes up dripping. I don't need that much solution, so I wring it out until it's got water, but it's just barely dripping. Start up top just as you normally would wash. Just go left and right. The solution is filled in the wash mitt, so as I drag it across the panel, it's releasing ONR onto the paint. So all that was done on one side of the mitt. I'm going to now flip and finish. As you can see, it drips down. Now it's good to overlap a little bit between panels or doors, and then that's about as far as I'm going to go down right there. This goes back into the bucket, rub it up against the grit guard, and then I take my bottom dirty rag mitt for the dirtiest part of the car and just slowly do the same thing. Make sure I'm getting good coverage. Now I'm gonna go down to the plastics. And a little bit of dirt on the mitt or the rag. Not going into the bucket, I'm gonna hang it on the side here. That way no bad dirt is reintroduced into the bucket. Take my dry rag, which I've already used on the roof a little bit. Wring it out. So right now the panel is clean. It's got ONR on it. As I take this dry microfiber to dry it down, I've got lubrication because there's still ONR left. And again, where the ONR is left, it has already been washed, it's clean. So this will just be easy drying it down. Now the biggest thing to where you can introduce scratching is if when I'm drying, if I take my drying rag and go way over to this dirty panel that hadn't been washed yet, then yeah, dirt gets on my rag. And when I take that back over to the clean side, then I'm just taking dirt and scratching the paint. So just be careful once you get to a panel that you know you haven't washed yet. Just don't go that far over. Just don't go that far over, like I'm not going to that bumper because I haven't washed that yet. So as long as I'm only drying an area that's already been cleaned, then I'm good. But if I went way over to this door that I hadn't washed yet and then come back to here, then yes, I'm gonna take that dirt and bring it here and scratch all the crap. But if this is clean and if I'm only going to here, then all I'm doing is just drying a clean door panel. So that's that. I'm gonna do a little time lapse. So like I said, the biggest point is if I'm washing this and I'm ready to dry this fender, but I haven't moved to this bumper yet, when I'm drying, don't overlap on the dirty bumper. Just cut it off early. I mean, when I wash this, then I can overlap here, even though I know I've already cleaned it. And then when I'm ready to dry, I know that everything has been clean. But you know, the main thing is, does this save time? Probably once you get really proficient at it. For me, it allows me to wash her car inside of a heated garage. But not only that, it also saves a lot of water. I'm not out there running gallons and gallons of water to wash a car through a pressure washer. But you know, I think you can get pretty proficient at it. And even if you are outside in the winter, well, at least you can, you know, have a warm bucket of ONR solution that you're always dipping your hands into, and you're not running cold water through a pressure washer and washing with cold water through a pressure washer. So that's my take on it. Yeah. Saves gas if you got a gas pressure washer, saves electricity if you are running an electric pressure washer. So. And right now it's winter time, but in the summertime you got a lot of bug guts on the front bumper. That's fine. You can still use a yellow bug pad, a bug scrub pad. Would do just fine. You know, yeah, is it taking the greaser and hitting it with a pressure washer going to knock the bugs off that quick? No, it'll take a little bit more effort, maybe a little bit more elbow grease. But even if the front end is filled with bugs, you can definitely still get all that off, no problem. The nice thing about ONR is even if you went inside and left this panel wet and forgot about it and say it completely dried, well, that's okay. It's not going to leave a bunch of hard water spots, because the ONR solution actually softens water, meaning that it reduces some of the minerals that cause water spots. It reduces that and it softens it to where if you went inside and let everything dry on the panel, ONR solutions, yeah, it'll leave some spots, but all it'll be is the polymer ONR spots, and you can basically just take a rag and maybe a little bit of ONR and wipe it right up. So actually what I did was I pressure washed, since it was so full of salt, I pressure washed the whole car top to bottom and cleaned the wheels and everything. And then when I pulled it inside, I just sprayed ONR in my spray bottle across the whole paint, the wheels and everything. And that prevented the water that I used from the house through the pressure washer that has a lot of minerals in it and that can leave water spots. Once I brought it in, sprayed it with ONR, all the spots that were already on it get softened up by ONR, and then it doesn't leave any water spots. I'm looking at it now to inspect to make sure, and yeah, I don't see any water spots at all that were left from spraying it and then not coming in right away to dry. So I'm not using a whole lot of pressure. Does not take a lot of elbow grease. It's essentially just running the mitt across the paint with the solution, and that is what picks up all the dirt that's on the paint and encapsulates it into the water beads that then go into the wash mitt. And just do the same thing as you normally would when you wash. You just go to your bucket and rinse out, run it up against the grit guard. That way, any bit of dirt that does get on the fibers of the wash mitt, go back into the bottom of the bucket, up underneath the grit guard, and you're good to go. So the question is there a chance of it scratching the paint? And the answer is yes. You know, anytime you take anything to the paint and rub on it, there's a chance that it could scratch something. But doing this method does not increase the chance of scratching anymore than a traditional soak in a bucket and water hose would, the pressure washer, whatever. Because the solution of the ONR dangerous. From what the company says, lubricates more than just traditional shampoo, car shampoo, and water do anyway. So I'll take you down the side of this panel, and which has not been paint corrected yet. This is the second wash that I've done on the Rogue Sport, and both washes have been right after salt and snow on the roads, and also both washes have been done this method, the rinseless method, with ONR. So we'll kind of get a close-up. Again, the paint has not even been corrected yet. This is exactly how we got it from the dealership. So yeah, there are definitely some wash scratches. But mind you, yeah, it was buffed by the detail shop at the dealership. But it was also washed twice at the dealership after their initial detail. So yeah, there's some wash scratches. But definitely not any done from my rinseless ONR methods. Alright, so I'm all done. My final steps will be, no matter if I wash the car normal, whether I rinseless wash, whether it's ceramic coated, whether it's waxed or not protected or anything, which this one has not been ceramic coated yet, but has not been paint corrected yet. This is the first two washes that I've got. I haven't done any waxes to it. But again, no matter what type of protection is on it, no matter what type of wash that I do, my last step will always be to take a clean dry microfiber and use a sealant or a protective spray called Bead Maker to do my final steps that add a layer of protection to it, and that also will clean up any wash marks or any residues left behind. That way the last step is 100% streak free, no marks, no drips, no nothing like that. But before I do that, I will clean out the door jambs. You probably wonder how I do that. And then we just simply take I take my dirty bottom half rag and I just completely, wring it out and just take the cleanest side of it that I can find. And I'll just wipe them out. Now what I have already done is taken my pressure washer when I cleaned the wheels and tires, and I kind of rinsed out these door jambs, so the bulk of the dirt has already been sprayed off in that pressure washer step. In the pressure washer step, It takes very little time at all. I don't have any brushes out. I just simply spray degreaser on the tires, spray acid on the wheels and wheel wells, or degreaser on the wheel wells, rinse it, and be done. So I probably spend maybe 15 minutes out there running the pressure washer. Now what you can also do, this ONR solution that I've got on my rag cleans very well, even on the interior. You can wipe door panels down with it, leather seats. I'm gonna wipe out these cup holders if you spilled some stuff on them, and wipe out the kick panels getting in and out. And then that's it. The interior is done. Weather techs will go back in, and that'll be it. So again, we just got back from a trip. Going down there, we did eat some food in the car. I spilled a little bit of honey mustard in the cup holder. So, obviously I wiped most of it out already with a napkin, but I'm just going through with this damp ONR rag and just wiping out, to get all the grease off, to get that little bit of honey mustard left. Anywhere that my greasy hands touched, I'm just wiping with ONR, and it takes all that away. Alright, so again, everything is now clean. The wheels and tires, the degrees, acid, rinse with a pressure washer, been dressed. I've gone through and done a rinseless wash. I've dried it. I've wiped out the door jambs with my rinseless wash. Damp microfiber rag. So all the door jambs are clean, wheels and tires are clean, fender wheels and tires are dressed, and the vehicle is dry. Now there's still some, white damp marks, I would call them, from my rag. So what I've done, I've taken a brand new clean and dry, 100% dry microfiber rag. I've got bead maker, which is a sealant. I'm going to spray this just a little bit on the rag. And I'm going to go through and do my final wipe down. One, to add protection, and then two, to ensure that the paint is pretty much 100% streak free and looking as close to perfection as it possibly can. And I probably will go through and do one little step of dressing with my brush on my plastics, on my plastic trim, as I wipe down the tires and everything. I'll probably go through and dress the trim out, and I probably will show you that. But again, this, I'm not using a lot of product, not using a lot of bead maker, because I don't want to streak anything else. Again, this is my last step, and my goal is to dry up and remove any streaking or just dampness that was left behind from the rinseless wash. Water streaks, anything like that. Now this step is definitely not 100% necessary, but whenever I wash one, if I've got time, I always like to go through and then my final step add some protection. It definitely cannot hurt. So essentially, if this was a customer's car, I could be giving them a basic wash and wax job. especially if it was a maintenance customer, a customer that I've done before, and if the paint has already been clayboard, which was done on this one at the dealership, so I know the paint is really, really smooth, and I'm not going to say 100% contaminant free, but it's it doesn't have many contaminants on it at all right now. So this is essentially like a final drying step. So I'm sure there's no marks or anything left behind, but again, it's also a adding protection step as well, which can be. Alright, so my absolute last step after the paint's been washed, dried, and bead maker kind of has been applied there. I'm going to take some dressing, VRP, just a green wheel brush as my dressing brush. I've already sprayed down with a water-based lemon dressing on the tires to kind of give them that initial layer to set up on. I'm just going with a little bit of dab of VRP to finish everything off, and I'm gonna, like I said, just kind of wipe down and dress this trim a little bit. So I'm just taking the very, very end and edge of the bristles on this brush to get real close and fine tune this trim. I'm not getting on the paint whatsoever, and it really doesn't even take a lot of dressing, just what was already on the tires and a little bit of swipe of VRP that I put. Now what I will do is just kind of take my microfiber, just mist down these wheels and just kind of wipe them out to knock off any water spots that were left behind, and also add a small hint of protection. Just keep on going. Might add just a little bit of VRP, not much at all, just about that much. And just finish dressing out these plastics. You can see how close my bristles are getting to the paint, but I'm actually just fitting them in the edge of that trim to dress it out. It's done.